two verses from the 6th chapter of the Gita, which is called Dhyana Yoga. Last month also we talked about a couple of verses from this chapter. Dhyana Yoga, which talks about meditation and which talks about mind control. So I picked verses 16 and 17. 16th verse goes, Natyashnatastu yogosti nachaikanta manashnataha nachati swapna shilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. Krishna says, Arjuna, verily yoga is not possible for him who eats too much, or for him who doesn't eat well, or doesn't eat at all, or eats too little. Yoga is also not possible for someone who sleeps too much, or for someone who is awake too much. In other words, for someone who goes to extremes in his behavior, habits, lifestyle, success in yoga can be very difficult, because when we go to extremes, we have difficulty maintaining our body health. And without a sound body, it would be difficult to participate in any type of yoga. Last month when I was talking about meditation, I talked about what Krishna said would be conducive to be able to meditate well. We need to sit comfortably, to be in a comfortable position and room, and to be in a quiet place, and be able to concentrate either using a mantra or japa or whatever technique you can, and then become aware of our breath and practice it regularly. All those things would be conducive to meditation. In addition, Krishna explains, first of all, you need to have a healthy body. Before you can start doing anything at a higher level, think about managing a healthy body. And when he's talking about not overeating, it's symbolic. He's talking about overusing our special senses, not overdoing, not overindulging in the worldly aspects is what he's talking about. Now, Krishna, in other words, is recommending certain preparedness to be able to practice yoga. We eat to nourish our bodies, to get energy. If we eat too much, that person is called a bhogi. A bhogi is someone who eats too much. Or if we don't eat enough, either way we can become what's known as a rogi. Rogi means a person who is sick, who is not able to have a healthy body. Either as a bhogi or as a rogi, we would not be able to become a yogi. When I say yogi, I don't mean to necessarily think about the ultimate state, but even to start practicing, to be able to enjoy the wisdom that Krishna was talking about meditating for a better way of life and enjoying, what we have. To be prepared to start that way, we need a healthy body, is what Krishna is talking about. And so if we eat too much, we can be in trouble. If we don't eat too much, we can be in trouble. And so is sleep. Now, we do know, because of advances in science and medicine, that too much eating can cause a lot of problems. We are aware that it can cause problems with heart disease, cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes, all those things. It can also be associated with reduction in memory, reduction in immunity, arthritis type of problems. And we realize that when we eat foods, especially when we have processed foods with a lot of calories and fats and all those things, we have even more problems. For example, when we eat saturated fats, trans fats, they affect not only the heart but also the memory. The people who eat all of those too much can have problems with dementia. Now, some of the problems like memory problems, attention problems, all those can also be replicated when we don't eat enough. It's hard to concentrate when the stomach is empty. We can have dizziness, we can have low immunity. So either way, Krishna is talking about don't go to extremes and cause yourself problems. We can have problems with osteoporosis, tooth decay, that goes on and on when we don't have good nutrition. So that's what he's talking about. And so he's saying essentially a good body is important to manage a good mind. They go hand in hand. And in the beginning of the 6th chapter, I have talked about this where he says, we need to cultivate our mind so that the mind is our friend, so that mind is not working against us. We can cultivate, we can train our mind so that the mind would be our best friend. Similarly, he's saying you need to also be aware that your body can be your friend or your enemy depending on how you treat your body. So it's very important that you take care of this body. And not only that, when we don't take care of the body, we can have health problems which are very expensive, and they say the most expensive bed in the world is a sick bed. Not like Tempur-Pedic or anything like that. A sick bed can be very expensive because we lose so much life, productivity, money, all those things. So he's saying you owe it to yourself to be healthy so you're not a burden to the society also. In the 17th chapter, he also talks about how we should not go to extremes. We should not subject the body to extreme starvation, extreme torture. It's demonic, not divine to do that. He says, be nice to yourself. Because if you're not able to be nice to yourself and to your body, how can you think about being nice to the others? So, first of all, take care of yourself. In the 5th chapter, he also reminds us this body is like a 9-gated mansion, like a temple which houses the soul. And it's very holy. So, we need to pay attention to the body. And then when you look at the sleep, he's also saying don't sleep too much, don't be awake too much. Because either way, we would be sleepy. We would be sleepy when we are awake also. We won't be able to pay attention to what's going on. We cannot concentrate. We cannot do our job well. If we sleep too much, we are sleepy also. If we don't sleep too much, we'll be falling asleep. So he says, don't go through extremes, so that you will be able to concentrate if you want to practice meditation. But even before meditation, to live a day-to-day life, that can be compromised. Leave alone yoga and all. Just to be up and go do things also is difficult if we go to extremes. So what does he say? He says, lead a life of discipline. Be controlled in how you conduct your life. And for that, we go to the 17th verse. In the 17th verse, he says, Yuktahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. He says, the one who is moderate in eating, in recreation, in daily activities, all those activities, moderate in sleep, moderate in wakefulness, yoga can become, he can be successful at it, and yoga can become the destroyer of his sorrow, the destroyer of his suffering. So he's recommending that we have a very balanced way of doing things. One of the things Krishna does not talk about is fasting in this or even in other areas. And we do know that intermittent fasting can be helpful if you don't have any contraindications like headaches or low blood sugar or diabetes or any other medical problems, infections. Intermittent fasting can be helpful. It can regulate our hunger, regulate our weight, and regulate our insulin, medical conditions. It can sharpen the mind, if you can tolerate it. And if you want to, you can start slow. Instead of going from full-blown eating to nothing, you may want to change a little bit at a time. Instead of taking heavy solids, maybe semi-solids, and then maybe liquids, then to just fruit or something. So you can do various ways of fasting, because fasting, we now know, does sharpen our minds. And also it can help us to clean the body of toxins, and it can also help us to clean our mind. We can be more aware of what's going on in our head. We are more aware of how others are during fasting. So it can be done, but Krishna does not talk about it. What he is talking about is being moderate in how you conduct yourself with your life all day to day. When he talks about eat in a moderate way, what does that mean? Shankaracharya, who's given us the Gita interpretation and all that, he recommends, and Patanjali does too. They say eat halfway. Don't fill your stomach completely. Fill half with solids, 1/4 with water, and then 1/4 space, so that the food can be churned and digested and eaten properly, and nourishment can go into the body. So the recommendation is to stop eating while we still want to continue to eat, not eat fully, okay? Don't keep on having more and more helpings. So eating properly is a matter of health issue, not as a character issue, but a health issue. Krishna also recommends about what type of foods we would be eating, and he divides these foods into 3 types: sattvic food, rajasic food, and tamasic food. And sattvic food, in the 17th chapter, he says, Ayuhu sattva balarogyaha sukha priti vivardhanaha rasyaha snigdaha sthirahudya aharaha sattvika priyaha. He says, the foods which increase our life and vitality, foods which increase health and strength, foods which are giving us happiness and satisfaction, and foods which are tasty, savory, agreeable, pleasant to the stomach, not hurting, and nourishing, those should be the foods we should be eating. And that would include fresh food, tasteful food, and pleasant food. He says to avoid foods that are rajasic or tamasic, which would be rajasic would be very strong, pungent, too much spicy food, or like in the kids, too much sugar, they become very hyperactive. Foods that are being harmful to us, he says, try to avoid them. That doesn't mean we shouldn't ever eat them, but again, in moderation, maybe every now and then we can take a break and have some foods. But in general, he says, try to avoid those foods that harm you. Also, tamasic foods. Tamasic foods include old foods, putrid foods, like food poisoning, for example, or foods that would alter our head, alcohol. He says to avoid those foods. One of the things that Krishna does not talk about is vegetarian and non-vegetarian. He does not divide them into that. I think that's more of a Western concept. The foods are only divided according to these categories in the Vedas also. And there is evidence that in the Veda time they did eat meat, because the scripture says, Jivo Jivasya Bhojana, means one life is food to another life. See? Even when we eat foods like fruits and vegetables and leaves, they have life also. One way or the other, life consumes life, whichever way you want to go. So that's what Krishna talks about, eating good food, nourishing food in a moderate quantity. And one of the ways that one can do that, be able to control, is one is not to keep foods that are tempting. You know, I have explained earlier, I have certain weaknesses. My thing is, if I have it, I would eat it, so I try not to keep, like for potato chips, for example. Or the other way is to reward oneself. Once in a while you want to eat, just buy it, have it, you know, finish it up and be done with it. But don't keep them because it's hard to not to give in temptation. So try not to have the food around. So that's what Krishna talks about food. Now he also talks about activities. Activities such as vihara, cheshta and karma. Vihara is like recreational type of activities. It is so interesting that he talked about recreation. You know, isn't that, it boggles my mind that they talked about recreation in those days, long before we knew times. So when it comes to vihara, he says you need to have a break, a purposeless activity, just to revigorate it yourself, energize it to you, fun type of activities. It doesn't have to have any purpose. Just go do something that is of, you know, interest to you. And it could also be something that can enhance your interactions with your family, with your friends, with the society, or you could be learning new skills through recreational activities. So there are so many. It also helps us mentally to reduce stress, reduce depression. So there are so many benefits to having recreational activities. So he says again, in moderation, have recreation also. Go on a vacation. So recreational activities like health also have cost type of financial implications to the society. There are so many industries depending on recreational activities. So he says have some fun in your life. It can be also restorative. So then he comes to cheshta. Cheshta is activities, any activities that we carry on, and he says you need to be active. Not to be active is not a choice. As long as we are living, we have to be active and doing things. And now we know how exercise, for example, is very important. It is important to avoid so many health conditions, and it is also important to help us improve our mood, energy, sleep, memory. Now we know that the seat of memory, which is called hippocampus in our head, starts shrinking with age. And then what happens is, if we exercise, it kind of increases. So it does help us to improve our memory with exercise. And it doesn't have to be strenuous activity either. If you can start with very little and gradually build it up. And about brisk walking 3 times a week for about 30-40 minutes is all you would need. One way or the other, Krishna says one has to have moderate activity, exercise in life also. And finally he talks about karma, the duties we do, either as role playing or the job we do to earn our bread. Don't be workaholic, he says. Again, balance it with your personal life, family life, social life. Don't just go work all the time. That's not right either. Balance it, he talks about. So it's interesting how he has talked about balancing all these mundane type of things in life also, which would be food we talked about, which would be activities we talked about, and finally he comes to sleep again, and he says balance your sleep and your wakefulness. Sleep is a very interesting topic. Now we know that more and more it's not just a passive type of thing. It's a very important activity that we go through. We human beings spend 1/3 of our lives in sleep. 1/3 of our lives. This is the activity that we spend the most time in than any other activity in our lives. Very, very important. And now we know that while sleeping, the brain is not just shutting off, but it's active in a different way, doing things like cleaning up the head, brain, with all those toxins, from all those toxins that are accumulating all day. During the sleep, brain starts cleaning out, cleaning up all those things. There is what's known as a substance known as amyloid. It deposits on the brain and causes problems with memory, with dementia, with Alzheimer's. So substances like that are cleaned out during sleep. So sleep is a very important thing. In addition, sleep also integrates. It's called consolidation of memory. Whatever we have whatever memory we have, sleep improves that memory. Whatever we have practiced during the day, learning a new language, learning a new skill, when we sleep well after that, whatever we have learned, brain integrates that and helps us to develop the skill better. So sleep is very, very important, especially during the REM sleep. All this happens. So we do need to sleep well. Sleep is also important in many aspects, improving our memory, improving our attention, improving our judgment, improving our mood, our immunity. So it's very, very important. We see that people who sleep well typically have long lifespans. And we don't know if it's cause or effect, we just see that association. And people who do not sleep well have troubles with attention span, memory problems, judgment. We see so many accidents happening. I myself had one accident one time, and the girl ran into me and said she slept. She was working all night long, and she fell asleep at the driving seat and ran into me. So it does cause driving sleep problems. And then accidents like that when we don't sleep. Sleep can cause health problems, heart disease, stroke, all those type of things. We also see increasing cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, such things in night shift people more. So there are so many, weight gain from not sleeping well, losing muscle mass. So many medical problems can happen. And it's a very common problem. Insomnia is very common, and it is estimated, according to the NBC News, 40 million Americans suffer from insomnia, and so about 10% of them chronic problem, which means they're not able to sleep at least 3 times a week for more than a month or longer. And it costs a lot of money. It costs over $60 billion in lost productivity and accidents like we are talking about. So it is a very important issue. And many people, especially young ones, think that they can do without sleep, and they're doing better by trying to deprive themselves of sleep and trying to do more and more. And it happens in the corporate world also. And I don't know if you heard about Arianna Huffington. She was the one who started, one of the people who started Huffington Post. And this lady was working herself to death and just collapsed one day, almost killed herself because of sleep deprivation. And then she went back and did a lot of research and found out that she really needed to sleep in order to be productive and be better at what she was doing. And she wrote a book, The Sleep Revolution. If you have a chance, look at it. And in that book, she discusses how most of us think we can train ourselves to sleep less. No, most of us need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Gita does not, Krishna does not say how many hours to sleep. He says whatever you need to sleep. Because of genetic mutation, I believe, some people can sleep less. We hear about some people sleeping only 3-4 hours and doing well. Those are exceptions. For most of us, we need long, restful sleep. And if we're not able to sleep, we need to make ourselves, change the area so that it's conducive, so that we can sleep better. It could be having a cool room, it could be dark night, and trying to develop a ritual, going at regular time, waking up at regular time, making sure that we have developed a method to sleep well. One of the things people do is look at the clock when they wake up, and then they make themselves more excited that they woke up and can't go back to sleep. So don't look at the clock. And in these modern times of overstimulation, don't try to use the iPhone, iPad, those type of gadgetry at least for 1 hour before you go to bed, it's said, because the body may be exhausted, but the mind is still very, very stimulated and it cannot sleep. So try not to use them, try not to take them to bed. Another common mistake we make is we think about all the problems when we go to bed. That is the time not to think about the problems. Think about all the blessings we have, all the positive things that are going, and visualize tomorrow going even better. Those would help to sleep better. A couple of words about oversleeping. Krishna also talks about don't sleep too much. Just like sleep well. Another word about sleeping well. Now the corporate world is recognizing how important it is, and they are actually giving incentive for their employees to sleep better and do better. Microsoft, Amazon, all those. So going back to oversleeping. Oversleeping is also very harmful to the body, where we could actually it can actually cause more health problems. For example, they say it's as bad as drinking too much, or smoking. It's as bad as that. So try not to oversleep also. So Krishna is giving extensive instruction about eat well, sleep well, exercise well, all those things, so that we could have a healthy body, and so we could then follow yoga. And why do we want to do all this? And he summarizes in this verse in the 6th chapter. He says, Tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga sangnitam sa nischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa. He says, know that severance of connection with pain is what yoga is about. Most of the time, we don't even know we are doing this. We become experts in making ourselves sick. The word I use is man-made misery. We find all sorts of ways to make ourselves unhappy and then extend the unhappiness to others. These are connections we develop, bonds we develop, habits we develop that we don't even know we are doing. And through meditation, we can slowly but steadily break those bonds and keep ourselves happy, keep others happy. And this Krishna says we need to do with discipline. We have to practice them. It doesn't happen overnight. We don't even know we are doing it most of the time. As we become more and more aware, and as we practice more and more aware, Krishna says we can enjoy what we have, which is the bliss we are given. And that's what he's reminding us about. Okay? That's my presentation.